Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Happiness Journey with Dr. Dan podcast, where every journey is worth living. My name is Dr. Dan, and I'm your host for today's episode. I am a cognitive behavior psychotherapist specializing in anger management issues, both court appointed and private, marriage counseling, dissociative identity disorders, narcissistic personality disorders, depression, anxiety, and so much more. If you need any assistance, reach out to DMV Counseling and Therapy Services at 301 325 1550. Today, I'm very excited to have on our podcast a very special guest, Nate Bailey. Just like every of my past episodes, I will leave it to the guests to properly introduce themselves, as no one can do a better job as themselves. Nate, the floor is yours, my friend.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. Excited to be here. But a little bit about myself. I grew up in northern Wisconsin, very small town, but my biological father left before I could even remember, and really hasn't ever been a part of my life. And I think that's played a big part in who I am today. Grew up very active, loved playing sports, wanted to be a professional athlete as a kid, as probably many do, right? And but that also kind of has directed me in who I am and what I do today. Went on to play some college football, joined the Army National Guard, became an officer, was deployed for 15 months to Kuwait. And everything that I've really done as I look back has kind of prepared me for what it is I do today as a business coach and advisor and working with entrepreneurs and business owners. I've always been gravitated towards leadership positions, as a captain of my high school football, basketball, baseball teams. Again, like I said, played some college athletics, and then of course became an officer and an entrepreneur. So I've always wanted to impact and lead others. Went to school to be a teacher, did some teaching, did some coaching in the high school and college athletics. Been married for over 20 years now, 3 kids. And it hasn't always been super rosy along the way, as everyone's journey, I think, kind of is similar to that. But I love what I'm doing and love to have the opportunity to be here today.
So, what would you say to our listeners about the biggest challenges that you faced before deciding to become a coach for entrepreneurs and an advisor? I mean, did something click that you wanted to venture into this career, or because you've done a lot of things, you've done teaching, you're in the Army, etc. So what really brought you to doing that?
Well, like I say, I think a lot of the experiences leading up to it prepared me for it without me knowing what I was preparing myself for, right? But I owned an insurance brokerage for about 14 years and had built a very successful business. But there were some certain things in my life that weren't really exactly how I would map them out in my mind that they would be when I was around the age of 38 years old or so, nearing 40. Had 3 kids at the time, had some multiple businesses going. Wasn't super happy about my health and fitness. Was in this weird place in life, just really thinking, man, there definitely has to be more to life than where I was at. Maybe from the outside looking in, it could have looked like I had a pretty good life going, and it's not by any means that I didn't, but just was not to the level that I knew was possible and that I had desired and wanted. And so I kind of came across a coach and a mentor without even knowing that I necessarily needed one, or that I even know existed, right? I didn't really know that this world of coaching, consulting even was out there. So by mistake, came across a coach and a mentor, started to invest in myself heavily, kind of went down this journey of personal development, personal growth, did a lot of work on myself and in my life to become the person that I wanted to be, to become the husband and the father that I wanted to be, to become the entrepreneur and business owner. And through that journey, realized that, hey, like this is pretty incredible. I could coach and help others to live the life that they want, to build the business that they want and the lifestyle that they want, after my eyes being open to that being a possibility, right? And so Like I said, I had built a successful insurance agency and brokerage, but just kind of knew in the back of my head that didn't see myself doing that forever. Right. I didn't love it. It had created a good lifestyle for me. It gave me some good flexibility to be there for my kids, for the programs, for their sports, things like that. But just really didn't enjoy it. Was definitely not on fire about insurance. And so, made the decision, a difficult decision, to sell something that was established and that was growing, that had some certainty, definitely from a financial side of things, that, especially was something that made my wife feel safe, right? Like knowing that we had this established business, and then here I come and bust the doors down and say, hey, I think I want to sell my business and do this coaching thing that definitely was not established and didn't have any kind of a roadmap to really figure out how to get there and how to make it sustainable. But here I am 4 years later, and I've been able to make it happen up to this point, and it continues to grow, and the arrow continues to point up, I guess you'd say, right? So, that's a little bit about how I've gotten to where I am today.
Did your family kind of were supportive through your transition, or were they saying, how are we going to make it? It's going to be hard for you to start all over again. I mean, how was the transition in that regard?
Well, it was, I guess, on one side, I had built a good business, so I was able to sell it, and I was able to sell it fairly quickly, which gave us a little bit of a security blanket to launch this thing, right? To be able to make this a reality. But at the same time, there was a lot of, there was some apprehension, some uneasiness. But I think at the same time, my wife kind of knew, after being married almost 20 years, that when I kind of have something set in my mind that I want to go out and do, that there wasn't a ton of stopping me. Now if she would have said, put her foot down and been like, no, like, absolutely not. This is, I can't handle this, can't do this. And could have been a different decision. But, I knew that she was concerned and a little bit worried, but at the same time, she was supporting me as well, knowing that I was going to go out and do everything that I could to make it a reality and to not put our family in at risk, financially.
The purpose of you changing career from insurance to coaching, did you find that would have brought you happiness versus what insurance didn't do? Because, obviously we changed career at a later age in life because we have not been fulfilled in the career that we're in. But do you feel that you changing into a coach or into the coaching business would have brought more happiness? And did it happen? That's the ultimate question.
Yes, 100%. I don't know, happiness for me is always, it's a little bit weird, right? And some people, I think, you go through life and they're not sure that they could ever be happy, right? And is it really a thing? But the day after selling my business, man, it was literally like this huge weight had been lifted. It was just a weird feeling to not have to show up and to not have to do the day-to-day activities that were required in running an agency, and then the excitement of going and doing what I do today, which is I get to work with men and women. The one thing that I loved about the insurance business was the people that I got to work with, right? The clients, and creating those relationships. And now I get to do that. But also the daily activities, the conversations that are had, the events that we do, the impact that we literally see that is made with the clients that we work with. That's the fun part. That's the fulfilling part. And that's way happier today than I was, prior to selling my business. And so, I think when you have that happiness inside of your business and in your work and your purpose, what you do every day, I mean, that can't help but overflow into how you show up at home too, right? How you show up in other areas, and vice versa. When don't necessarily have that fulfillment and that happiness in what I do every day, because let's be real. I mean, our jobs, our careers take up a large portion of our living lives. And, if you're not happy, how does that not overflow as well into who you show up when you get home, right?
That is correct. You're right. But now that you transition from having a business that was basically self-managed because of the years and years that you've invested time into it, but now that you have to basically start all over, now the time that you used to spend with family, is it taken away from to spend more time in working and to developing your business, or how did that transition in that regard?
Yeah, that's a good question. And there has been some sacrifice of time with my family. However, I am very cognizant of that, and family is important to me. And I would never want to start something new and to sacrifice the thing that's most important to me as a result of that, right? Because that doesn't bring me happiness for sure. So there's been a fair amount of travel over the last 4 years because of the new career path that I'm on and what I do. But at the same time, it really makes me focus to when I am home to be there and to be present with, my family as much as possible. There's other ways, I think, when you are on the road to connect and stay engaged with them. And then also, when I am home, my days aren't power packed full from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed either. And I think just like anything, you have to set boundaries and just always know that there's always more work to be done.
Always.
So I know that, like, if I just work from sun up to sundown and I get to a certain age and the time is gone, that the massive regret isn't going to be how much money I made. It's going to be the time that I did or didn't spend with those that were most important to me. And so I always keep that kind of front of mind for myself as well. And I'm not perfect either. So, some days I do spend probably too much in the business and not enough at home, but I try to reset myself and catch myself in those moments to be there and be with my family as much as possible.
It's more about the quality time versus the quantity, because you could be with
Yeah.
them 12 hours a day, but not really be attentive to their to the kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Versus when you know that your time is very restrained and very difficult to be able to get a hold of. So basically, you want to be able to invest when you're with them. It is quality, it's 100% time with them, and there is no like looking at your phone or making a call or anything of that sort. So I think the quality is definitely much better than the quantity. And when it comes to like an advice that you would give to people who are starting their business, who are venturing into something completely different than from their career, what ideal steps would you give them to be able to transition without adding the stress into it? Because obviously, when someone starts something new, they don't know where the venture is going to go. They don't know if they're going to be successful. They don't know if they're going to say, oh my God, my opportunity cost is too high. I let go of one thing to start something else, and I may not get the same salary. I may not get the same revenue, whatever it is. So how do you help them transition?
I think there's a big piece of it, maybe for a season, right? For a time, that you just you're definitely going to have to make some sacrifices to build this new thing up. But put the work, the effort, the energy in, really go all in. If that's the decision you're going to make, don't kind of just dip your toe in it, right? You got to build it up as fast as you can so that you can, again, get to this place where maybe you don't necessarily have to be in the business now every day, all day, right? I think that's the goal for all business owners, is not to have another job, right? So many people become employees to their businesses, and they might as well have just go get a career somewhere and take a salary, because I believe part of the reason that we have businesses is so that we can have some of that lifestyle, that freedom, that time to spend to do whatever it is that we want or with who we want. And oftentimes the exact opposite happens. So, have that plan in mind. Surround yourself with others that have had success where you want to go. find a roadmap and follow it. Don't try and recreate the wheel. I mean, it's definitely something to be said about being unique and standing out in the marketplace. But at the same time, there's usually a blueprint there of others that have come before you, so work smart, surround yourself with people that you trust that can help you to avoid some of the pitfalls along the way. Not that you're going to avoid all of them. And again, just remember why it is that you're making that change, and, work as hard and as smart as you can, especially in the beginning, so that you have that ability to have that freedom at some point down the road.
That's actually a good thing, because they said that if you walk into a room and you're the smartest person there, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Go find a different room. Yeah.
The thing, the biggest challenge for entrepreneurs, Nate, and I'm not sure if you would agree, is finding people to trust. You see, no one has the passion that you have for your business. So how can you have others adopting this vision? Because we're visionary. We're not followers, we're leaders. So how can you really appropriate the same passion to others that you have for that business? And that's the biggest challenge that that entrepreneur face.
Yeah, it is difficult to find the right people. And oftentimes I think unfortunately, sometimes you gotta weed through a lot of the wrong people to get to the right ones. But once you find the right ones, you'll know it. And I just say, really hang on to that.
Yeah.
Create as much value as you can for them, to really foster that relationship, because it is difficult to find those people. But when you find them, hang on to them. And that's one thing that I've seemed to maybe be a little bit of a superpower for me is connection and relationships with the right people. Sometimes I kind of sit back and kind of ask myself, how or why I've been able to create these relationships. But I think in the end, it doesn't really even matter. I mean, the fact is that I've been able to do it, and maybe it doesn't matter why. So I just go with it. I accept it. But yeah, especially today on social media, depending on where you're at and how you run your business. And, I tend to run a lot of what I do through social media, and that can be frustrating. And there's a lot of people out there that try to, that are good at making you believe that they can be trusted. And then you find out the hard way that they can't.
There's a lot of so-called gurus out there that mean nothing. And it's because now, as you said, because of the few bad people or the few bad apples that you face, a lot of people are discouraged to be able to trust anyone else. And again, that comes the same thing as you trusting people that can help you grow the business, while others, they have to trust you to give them the right advice. So it's kind of like a very difficult balance.
It is.
End on, because you don't know where you're going to end up, like falling on the other side of the spectrum. So it's I could imagine the challenges that you face. But as long as you said, you are persistent and you are stubborn in what you want to do, and that you do not have plan B. Because here's the thing, when you have plan B, you let go of the ideal plan A, and you always kind of fall out on something that is more secure, something that is more safe, or a salary or whatever it is. But if you are stubborn, if you're really passionate about what you do, then you're never really going to work in your life. It's all going to be like a hobby. And the hobby is obviously something that you want to be able to to persist on. But wow, I mean, that was definitely enlightening, Nate. But that's all the time that actually we have for today's podcast. I really do appreciate the time that you took out of your busy schedule to join us, Nate. Thank you for participating and inspiring our many listeners. Now, we hope that you have all enjoyed today's episode. I'm very excited with the many upcoming guests that we have scheduled for the Happiness Journey podcast, filled with inspirational stories, just like the one you listened to today. Now, here are a few concluding words of wisdom. If you just physically pretend on a regular basis, no matter how silly it may seem, that it is yours, that your life has already taken off, and that you found true happiness, a tipping point will be reached. Stars will be realigned, and new acquaintances will start insisting, I don't know why, but you really look familiar. And it'll be because their inner eyes already see the legend that you are to become. So go out there, smile, live for today and not tomorrow, as you can't really predict outcomes in your life. Don't despair. Your moment to shine will come very soon. My name is Dr. Dan Amzalag, and you may all be pursuing your amazing journey in life.